Long before Myra was born, Earth had a dream of building a ship that could protect the whole planet. It was not just any ship. It was a creation of hope and fear mixed together, made in a time when humanity thought the galaxy might not welcome them kindly. They named it Aurora, a prototype warship that carried technology so advanced that even its creators wondered if they had built something too great. But Aurora never flew. By the time it was finished, Earth had changed. The people wanted peace, not battles. They turned their energy toward building colonies, growing knowledge, and sending explorers to distant stars. Aurora was placed inside a secret asteroid dock far away from trade routes. It was locked, sealed, and forgotten. Generations passed. People no longer spoke about Aurora. The stories of an abandoned ship became whispers in old archives, and eventually even those whispers faded. Earth's fleets were now gentle explorers and science vessels. They had no need for warships because the galaxy around them seemed quiet. Myra was a young engineer who loved digging through old records. She worked in a quiet office that stored fragments of history. Most of her peers ignored the dusty files, but she enjoyed reading about half-finished projects and forgotten dreams. One late night, while searching through an old digital archive, she found something strange. A set of files marked Project Aurora. At first she thought it was only a myth. But as she read further, the details grew clearer. Aurora was real. The files described a massive ship hidden in an asteroid dock, powered by something called a stellar core drive. There were diagrams of shining halls, notes about protective systems, and even logs from the builders. Myra's heart beat fast. The next morning she ran to her mentor, Tomasz. Tomasz was older, calm, and always patient with Myra's endless questions. He looked at the data she had found, reading it carefully. For a long time he said nothing. Then he smiled in a thoughtful way. "You may have uncovered something very old," he said. "And very important. But the council will never believe this unless they see it." Myra wanted to tell everyone at once, but Tomasz guided her to move slowly. Together they prepared a simple report for Earth's council. It was a mix of evidence, maps, and her excitement. At the meeting, many council members laughed kindly at first. They thought it was just another legend. But then Tomasz showed them the sealed coordinates hidden in the files. The room grew quiet. Earth's council was worried. For years, whispers had spread that the Empire, a vast power ruling many worlds, was growing restless. Some scouts even reported seeing Imperial ships near human colonies. If the Empire was truly watching Earth, then perhaps an old warship was not just a story. After much debate, the council finally agreed to send a small team to the asteroid dock. Myra, Tomasz, and a few engineers were chosen to go. Myra could hardly sleep before the journey. Her mind was filled with questions. Was Aurora really there? Would it still work after so many years? Or would they find only broken metal and silence? Their ship traveled for days across empty space, following the coordinates deep into a quiet region. At last they reached an asteroid belt where one large rock stood apart from the rest. Its surface looked normal, but scans revealed something hidden inside. With careful steps, they found an entry tunnel, sealed long ago. When the doors opened, they saw it. Aurora. The ship was huge, resting inside the asteroid like a sleeping giant. Dust and ice clung to its silver hull, but its shape was still beautiful. Long wings stretched outward, and the central core glowed faintly as if it had been waiting all this time. Myra gasped, unable to speak. Tomasz placed a hand on her shoulder, just as amazed. They entered the ship slowly. The halls were silent, but the walls were smooth and polished. Old lights flickered as if trying to wake. The team moved deeper, guided by the files Myra had studied. Every step felt like walking through a forgotten dream. Finally they reached the heart of Aurora. A chamber with a towering machine stood before them. The stellar core drive. Even after centuries, it held a faint hum, like the heartbeat of a sleeping creature. Myra touched the control panel. The screen lit up with symbols. She felt a thrill race through her. Aurora was not dead. It was waiting. In that moment, Myra realized something greater than discovery. Aurora was not just a ship. It was a message from the past, a promise that if Earth ever faced danger, this ship would rise to protect it. She looked at Tomasz, and he nodded slowly. "This is real," he whispered. "And it may be what Earth needs soon." Myra's eyes shone with determination. The forgotten ship was awake again in her heart, and she knew this was only the beginning of its story. Aurora rested in silence inside the asteroid dock, as if time itself had forgotten it. The ship was huge, far larger than anything Myra had ever seen. Its surface carried marks of age, thin cracks, and layers of frozen dust, but even through the silence it gave a feeling of strength. It was not broken. It was only waiting. Myra and her team set up lights across the halls. The air smelled faint and cold, untouched for centuries. The walls were smooth, lined with strange panels that seemed to shimmer when their lamps passed over them. The deeper they went, the more Myra felt the ship was alive in some hidden way. The control chamber was the most breathtaking. It was round and wide, with seats that curved around a central console. Large windows faced the void outside, showing stars like silver dust against the dark. In the center of the room was a tall crystal-like column connected to the ship's systems. Tomasz studied it carefully, running his fingers across the controls. "It is far beyond anything our fleets use today," he said softly. "This ship was built not only for strength but also for thought. Look at how the systems are arranged. It is as if Aurora was made to guide the crew, not just obey them." Myra sat at one of the panels. The surface lit up under her hands. A line of ancient Earth symbols appeared, followed by a calm synthetic voice that echoed through the chamber. "Aurora. Stand by. Crew presence detected." The sound was gentle yet strong, like a guardian speaking after a long rest. The engineers stared in awe. No one had expected the systems to still function. Myra leaned closer, her hands shaking slightly. "Can you hear us?" she whispered. The voice responded at once. "Crew confirmed. Awaiting command." Myra felt her breath catch. The ship was not only awake, it was listening. The team spent hours exploring further. They found rooms filled with strange devices, storage bays, and long corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. Some systems were dim, waiting for energy, but others responded quickly. The stellar core drive deep within the ship was the key. If they could restart it fully, Aurora might return to full power. But the drive was unlike anything they had studied. It pulsed with a faint golden glow, built to draw energy directly from starlight. Tomasz explained that this design was far ahead of modern human technology. Most ships still used fusion engines. Aurora was designed to live as long as stars themselves. Myra suggested a cautious restart. The team agreed, though carefully. They connected small power lines, checked safety levels, and ran scans. At last, Myra pressed her hand on the main control surface. The ship shuddered slightly. Lights spread across the walls like ripples of dawn. A soft hum filled the halls, growing steadier until the whole vessel seemed to breathe. The golden glow of the stellar core grew brighter, filling the chamber with warmth. Aurora was awake. In the control chamber, the voice returned. Systems online. Stellar core drive active. Awaiting mission directive. The team looked at each other. None of them knew what to say. This ship had been built for a time long gone. What directive could they give? Myra spoke first, her voice firm despite her nerves. Status report. The voice answered at once. Structural integrity, stable. Defense systems, functional. Shield projectors, offline, repairs required. Navigation, operational. Engines, minimal thrust available. Stellar core drive, stable. Tomasz smiled faintly. It is more alive than I dared to hope. For the next days, the team worked inside Aurora. They tested its hulls, cleaned panels, and recorded every system. Myra kept returning to the control chamber. Each time, the ship seemed to respond faster to her touch, as if it recognized her presence. She began to feel a strange connection. The panels adjusted to her height. The voice answered her with smoother tones. Even the lights in the chamber brightened when she arrived. Tomasz noticed too. It seems to favor you, he said with a thoughtful smile. Perhaps Aurora was designed to learn from its crew. You are becoming its captain without even asking for it? Myra felt both nervous and honored. She had never dreamed of commanding a ship, let alone one like this. But deep inside, she felt Aurora wanted a guide, and somehow it had chosen her. While the team celebrated the awakening, Earth's Council received their first full report. The news spread quickly among the members. Some were excited. Others were afraid. A ship with such power could protect Earth, but it could also draw the attention of those who wished to control it. And far across the stars, whispers of Aurora's awakening reached ears that did not belong to Earth. The Empire had many eyes and many ways to gather secrets. When they learned of an ancient warship stirring near Earth, they took interest. Back in the asteroid dock, Myra stood before the main window of the control chamber. Stars shone outside, endless and silent. Aurora hummed steadily around her, like a giant ready to rise. She placed her hand on the console. We will not let you sleep again, she said quietly. The time you were built for may be coming. The ship's voice answered with calm certainty. Acknowledged. Myra felt a chill, but not of fear. It was the chill of knowing history was moving again. The forgotten ship was no longer forgotten. It was awake, and the galaxy would soon know it. Aurora was no longer a secret to Myra and her team. The ship had awakened, its golden core glowing with steady energy, its hulls alive with quiet sound. Each day, Myra grew more connected to it. She learned how the controls shifted under her touch, how the systems adapted to her commands, and how the ship seemed eager to respond. Tomasz guided her carefully, reminding her that Aurora was both a gift and a responsibility. On Earth, the Council was still divided. Some wanted Aurora hidden again, fearing that other powers in the galaxy would see it as a threat. Others believed Earth needed it more than ever, especially with the Empire's shadow growing larger. News had reached them of Imperial fleets moving closer to the outer colonies. Though no direct contact had yet been made, the pattern was clear. The Empire was watching, and it was not a friendly gaze. Myra felt the weight of this news each time she stood at the command window. She looked at the stars and imagined the Empire's ships traveling among them. She did not know when they would arrive, but she knew they would. Aurora seemed to know as well. Its systems often stirred when talk of the Empire reached the ship, almost as if it understood the coming challenge. One quiet evening, while the team worked in the control chamber, the ship's voice spoke without being prompted. Alert! Long-range sensors detect unidentified fleet movement. Direction: approaching Earth system. The words froze the room. Everyone turned to Myra, their faces pale. Tomasz checked the data, his hands steady but his eyes serious. "It is true," he said. "The Empire is sending ships this way. They will not arrive tomorrow, but the path is clear. They are coming." The council was called into urgent session. Myra and Tomasz stood before them, explaining the sensor readings. The chamber filled with voices, some fearful, some angry. "We cannot face the Empire," said one council member. "Our fleets are explorers, not fighters." "Then we must hide Aurora," another argued. "If the Empire learns of it, they will take it for themselves." Myra stepped forward. Her voice was steady, though inside she felt her heart racing. "Hiding will not stop them. Aurora is not just a weapon. It is a guardian. It was built for this moment. If the Empire comes, Aurora can meet them." Her words echoed in the chamber. Some members looked doubtful, others thoughtful. Tomasz added calmly, "The ship is functional. It has the power to stand against the Empire's fleet. But more than that, it carries the spirit of Earth's builders. They prepared this ship not to conquer, but to protect. If we turn away now, then their work means nothing." The council fell into long debate. In the end, they gave reluctant approval. Aurora would not be hidden. Instead, it would rise again, ready to face whatever came. For Myra, the days that followed felt unreal. She trained with the controls, guiding Aurora gently out of the asteroid dock for the first time. The ship moved slowly, as if stretching after a long sleep. Outside, the stars opened wide around them. The team cheered softly, their voices filled with wonder. Aurora was not a relic anymore. It was sailing once more. As they tested the engines, they saw Earth shining blue in the distance. Myra felt tears in her eyes. This was what Aurora had been made for, to stand watch over the home world, silent until needed. Now that time had come. Back in the command chamber, the voice spoke again. "Incoming communication. Source: Empire Fleet." The message was brief and cold. The Empire announced that it had heard rumors of Earth awakening old technology. It declared that Earth must submit to inspection. If not, the Empire would come in full strength. The Council received the message with fear. Some urged surrender. Others urged delay. But Myra listened to the words with calm resolve. Aurora's panels glowed under her hands, as if asking her to answer. She gave only one command. "Transmit reply, Earth will not submit." The message was sent. The council was shocked at her boldness, but Tomasz supported her. "The choice has been made," he said. "The Empire will test us. Aurora will show them what humanity can build." Days turned into weeks as the Empire's ships closed the distance. Aurora trained in silence, its systems adjusting, its shields slowly being repaired. Myra spent long hours walking its halls, speaking softly to it. The ship never truly answered her, but she felt its presence like a patient guardian listening closely. Finally, the day arrived. The Empire's fleet entered the edge of the Earth system. Reports came quickly, a dozen ships, each larger than anything in Earth's modern fleets. They moved with calm confidence, sure of their power. In the control chamber, Myra stood before the window. The Empire's ships glowed in the far distance, a line of silver against the stars. She felt no fear. She felt only a strange certainty. Aurora's voice spoke with steady calm. Contact imminent. Awaiting command. Myra placed her hand on the console. Tomasz stood beside her, silent but supportive. The crew looked to her for guidance. For a moment, she thought of the builders who had created Aurora, long gone now, their dream sleeping until this day. This is why you were made, she said softly. Not to destroy, but to protect. Let us show them. Aurora's lights glowed brighter. The stellar core pulsed with golden fire. The forgotten ship was ready. Far beyond, the Empire's fleet drew closer, unaware that the sleeping giant of Earth was awake and waiting. The Empire's fleet glided into the Earth system with calm certainty. Their ships were sleek, shining with silver and blue lights, built to display authority as much as strength. Each one was larger than Earth's explorer vessels, and together they moved like a tide that could not be stopped. From Earth, citizens looked to the sky with worry. Messages filled the airwaves. Some feared invasion, while others hoped the Empire had come only to display its might. But in the hidden orbit near the asteroid belt, Aurora waited. Its golden core glowed like a small sun, and its crew prepared quietly. Myra stood at the command window. The Empire's fleet appeared on the horizon of stars, distant but approaching steadily. Her hands rested on the console. She did not tremble. She felt Aurora's hum around her, strong and steady, as if the ship itself was telling her she was not alone. The Council had sent a message asking the Empire to explain their arrival. The reply was short. The Empire declared that Earth had awakened forbidden technology. They demanded Aurora be handed over for inspection. If Earth refused, the Empire said it would act as it saw fit. In the control chamber, silence followed the message. The crew looked at Myra. Tomasz gave her a nod of support. She leaned closer to the console. Transmit reply, she said. Aurora belongs to Earth. It will not be surrendered. The message went out. The answer from the Empire was only laughter, echoing through the communication channel. Their fleet slowed, forming a wide circle around Earth's space, like a net closing in. Aurora's voice spoke calmly. Warning. Fleet entering tactical range. Myra gave a simple order. Raise shields. A soft hum spread across the ship. The walls vibrated slightly as a translucent field wrapped around Aurora. Panels glowed brighter, showing patterns of energy. The engineers checked readings and nodded. The shields were strong. The Empire's fleet sent another signal, mocking this display. To them, Aurora looked like an old relic, a giant shell with no true power. They did not see the golden pulse deep inside its core. They did not yet understand what the ship was. Let us show them, Myra whispered. At her command, Aurora released a wave of energy. It was not an attack but a vast pulse of golden light that rippled outward across space. When it reached the Empire's ships, their navigation systems flickered. Engines stalled for a moment. Their neat circle broke apart. The crew gasped. Aurora had not fired a weapon, yet it had changed the flow of battle with one move. Tomasz smiled softly. It is as if the ship prefers to disable rather than destroy. A guardian, not a sword. The Empire's ships regained their balance, but confusion spread among them. Their commanders sent urgent signals, demanding explanations. Myra remained calm. She gave Aurora another command. This time, beams of golden energy stretched out from the ship, touching the Empire's vessels like threads of light. Systems shut down gently. Shields dimmed. Engines powered down. The ships drifted, harmless, their crews safe but unable to move forward. On Earth, citizens watched in awe as reports came through. One ship had stopped the Empire's fleet without a single strike. The forgotten Aurora, once hidden in silence, now stood like a shield for the whole planet. Inside the command chamber, Myra kept her focus. She knew this was only the beginning. The Empire had many fleets. They would not give up after one failure. Still, this moment mattered. Aurora had shown its strength. Humanity had shown it was not helpless. The Empire's fleet, unable to advance, slowly pulled back. Their leaders sent one final message before leaving the system. They promised they would return with greater power. When the fleet vanished into the stars, silence fell again. The crew of Aurora exhaled with relief. Some cheered softly. Others stared at the controls, still amazed at what they had witnessed. Myra closed her eyes for a moment, letting the hum of the ship steady her heart. Tomasz placed a hand on her shoulder. "You guided Aurora well. The Empire will not forget this, but neither will Earth." Myra looked at the glowing panels. She felt Aurora's quiet presence. The ship had responded to her, trusted her, and together they had faced a fleet. She knew greater tests were coming, yet she also knew they were ready. The council called for an immediate session. They praised Aurora's defense but warned that the Empire would come again. Some feared retaliation. Others saw hope for the first time. Earth was not as weak as it seemed. It had a guardian, and that guardian had awoken at the right moment. That night, as the ship drifted in safe orbit, Myra walked alone through its halls. The lights glowed softly around her. She spoke aloud though no one else was near. "You were made for this, weren't you? To protect without harm. To stand when others would fall." The ship's voice replied gently. "Directive confirmed. Primary purpose, protect humanity." Myra smiled. She felt a bond stronger than any she had known before. Aurora was not only a machine. It was a partner, a guardian, and perhaps even a symbol of what humanity could be at its best. Far across the galaxy, the Empire gathered its strength, angered by the failure of its fleet. But for the first time, smaller worlds under Imperial rule heard whispers of hope. A single human ship had stood against the Empire and endured. And this was only the beginning. The Empire's fleet entered Earth's space like a storm of silver lights. Their ships were large, polished, and proud, built to impress as much as to intimidate. They did not rush forward. Instead, they moved in perfect formation, as if to show that Earth had no choice but to respect their arrival. On Earth, people gathered in plazas and homes, watching the sky feeds with worry. The council sent calm messages, but every citizen could see the size of the fleet. Fear spread quickly. Most New Earth's ships were small science vessels, not made for defense. Only one ship stood apart from the rest. Aurora, the forgotten giant, floated in orbit near the asteroid belt, silent but alive once more. Myra stood in Aurora's command chamber, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The Empire's ships glowed faint in the distance, but their presence was heavy. Tomasz stood beside her, his face calm, though his voice was firm. "They want to scare us before they even speak. That is their way." The crew grew quiet when the first message arrived. The Empire's leader spoke with cool authority. "Earth has awakened an old relic. This ship is now property of the Empire. Surrender Aurora for inspection, or we will act." The words echoed through the chamber. Some crew members looked at Myra nervously. Tomasz gave her a steady glance. She pressed her hand on the console, her voice clear. Reply to Empire. Aurora belongs to Earth. It will not be surrendered. The message was sent. Moments later, laughter filled the channel. The Empire mocked the reply, calling Aurora a piece of junk from a forgotten age. To them, this ship looked like nothing more than an old shell. Their fleet spread wider, forming a circle around Earth, confident they already had victory. Aurora's voice spoke softly through the chamber. Warning. Fleet approaching tactical range. Myra's heart beat faster, but she did not hesitate. Raise shields. Golden light shimmered across the ship, forming a protective shell that surrounded Aurora like a second skin. The panels hummed, glowing with soft energy. The engineers checked their screens and nodded quickly. The shield was strong, stable, and ready. The Empire's ships drew closer. They activated scanners, shining beams of light across Aurora, testing it. The commanders believed the old ship would crumble under pressure. Myra looked at the distant fleet and whispered, "Show them who you are." Aurora responded at once. A pulse of golden energy spread outward in a wide wave. It was not an attack but a signal of power. When it touched the Empire's ships, their engines flickered. Navigation systems went dark for a few seconds. Their perfect formation broke apart. Gasps filled the command chamber. The crew looked at Myra in awe. She kept her focus. Status. Aurora replied. Enemy navigation disrupted. No permanent damage. Tomasz allowed himself a small smile. You see, Myra. Aurora was not made to destroy. It was made to control the field. A guardian, not a sword. The Empire's commanders sent hurried signals to each other, confused by what had just happened. Their fleet tried to regroup, but Aurora moved again. Thin beams of golden light stretched out, touching several ships like strands of thread. Systems dimmed instantly. Engines slowed to silence. Shields powered down. The ships floated harmlessly, their crews safe but unable to move forward. For the first time, the Empire's fleet hesitated. From Earth, the Council watched every moment. Reports arrived quickly. Citizens cheered as they learned that the giant ship of their ancestors had stopped the Empire without harm. One ship, thought to be a relic, had stood like a wall against the strongest fleet they had ever faced. The Empire tried one last time to press forward, but each move ended in failure. Aurora did not fire weapons. It did not break ships. It simply held them still, taking away their strength with quiet precision. At last, the Empire's fleet pulled back. Their final message was sharp and cold. This is not the end. We will return. With that, they turned and left Earth's space, leaving behind silence and wonder. In Aurora's chamber, the crew let out long breaths. Some cheered, some clapped each other on the back. Tomasz turned to Myra, his eyes proud. You spoke with courage, and Aurora listened. Today you showed the Empire that Earth is not weak. Myra's gaze stayed on the stars where the fleet had vanished. She felt Aurora's hum beneath her feet, steady and strong. This was only the first test. More would come. But she no longer felt the fear she once did. She felt a bond, a trust between her and the ship. Later that night, while most of the crew rested, Myra walked alone through Aurora's halls. The soft lights glowed at her steps. She spoke quietly, her voice almost a whisper. You were made to protect, weren't you? You do not harm unless there is no other way. The ship's voice answered in its calm tone. Directive confirmed. Purpose, protect humanity. Myra smiled faintly. She placed her hand on the wall. Then we will protect together. Far beyond Earth, the Empire gathered new plans, unwilling to accept defeat. But already the story of Aurora began to spread. Small colonies whispered about a human ship that had stood against the Empire and won without striking. And for the first time in many years, hope began to rise across the stars. The Empire's full fleet had arrived at the edge of Earth's system. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect formation, their silver hulls gleaming under distant stars. Earth's council watched in silence, fear gripping their hearts. They knew the fleet was far stronger than anything Earth had now, and many believed surrender might be the only choice. Myra stood in Aurora's command chamber, her eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. She felt the hum of the ship beneath her, steady and reassuring. Aurora seemed alive, as if it understood the danger and the responsibility placed upon it. Tomasz and the crew worked quietly, monitoring all systems. Every shield, engine, and scanner was ready. This is it, Myra said softly. The moment we were built for. Aurora cannot fight with weapons, but it can protect. That is its purpose. That is our purpose. The Empire's ships spread across the system, blocking all known exits. They sent a message to Earth. Surrender or be removed. The tone was cold, certain of victory. Myra pressed her hands on Aurora's main control panel. Transmit reply, she said. Earth will not surrender. Aurora will protect its people. The message reached the fleet. The Empire paused, surprised by the bold response. They had expected fear. They had not expected resistance from one ship, one human ship, alone. Aurora's golden core pulsed brightly. Myra gave the command. Activate shields fully. Prepare to move. The ship vibrated gently as protective energy spread around it. A soft hum filled the halls, comforting the crew. They watched the Empire's ships through the window. The fleet's lights reflected on Aurora's hull, but none could harm it. The ship had been built to endure, to guard, and it was ready. The first approach of the Empire was careful. They tried to close in on Aurora, testing the ship. But each time, the protective energy adjusted. Aurora moved gracefully, not fast, but with purpose. It used its systems to disable engines temporarily, not to destroy, but to stop advancement. Each Imperial ship that tried to press forward found itself held back, unable to continue. Myra felt a surge of pride. The Empire thinks power comes from force, she said. But we know strength comes from protecting and preserving. Tomasz nodded. Aurora was built for this. It will not harm unnecessarily, but it will ensure no one here is in danger. The crew worked together, monitoring systems and guiding Aurora in orbit. Each movement was precise. Every pulse of energy from the ship spread across the fleet, creating gentle waves that disrupted engines and shields without damage. Aurora became a barrier between Earth and the Empire, a guardian that stood calm and steady. From Earth, citizens watched reports coming in. Screens showed the vast fleet frozen in place, unable to advance. People cheered quietly, some unable to believe what they were seeing. One human ship had stopped the mightiest fleet known to them, not through weapons, but through skill, intelligence, and purpose. Hours passed. The Empire tried again and again, but each effort failed. Aurora adjusted, guiding their movements, blocking their paths, protecting all living beings aboard. Myra felt a strange connection with the ship. She knew it was responding to her instincts, understanding what she wanted before she spoke. Finally, the Empire's commanders called for retreat. Their messages were sharp but without anger. They promised to return, but they could not ignore what they had witnessed. One human ship had stood and protected an entire world. The crew of Aurora exhaled deeply. Some smiled, some whispered in wonder. Tomasz put his hand on Myra's shoulder. You led this ship well. Today, Earth has shown the galaxy what humanity can do. Myra walked through the halls later, feeling the gentle hum of Aurora beneath her feet. She touched the panels, feeling energy pulse like a heartbeat. You are more than a ship, she whispered. You are hope. You are what we can achieve together. Aurora responded with its soft voice. Directive fulfilled. Humanity protected. Myra looked out of the window. The Empire's fleet had vanished into the distance, leaving only silence and stars. She knew they would return one day. But for now, Earth was safe. Aurora had kept its promise. News from smaller colonies across the galaxy began to spread. Whispers reached planets under the Empire's rule. Stories told of a single human ship that had faced the Empire's fleet and protected its world without harm. Hope began to grow, not only for Earth but for all who wished for freedom and safety. That night, Myra stood in the command chamber, gazing at the stars. Aurora's golden core glowed softly, steady as ever. She felt a bond with the ship deeper than words could describe. It was not just a machine. It was a guardian, a symbol, and a partner in the defense of humanity. The galaxy had seen one small world rise with courage and wisdom. Earth had stood. And Aurora had shown the power of intelligence, care, and purpose over fear and force. The Empire's fleet had retreated into the stars, leaving Earth safe for now. Myra stood in Aurora's command chamber, her eyes on the vast expanse of space. The golden core pulsed gently beneath her, a steady heartbeat that reminded her of the ship's loyalty and purpose. The crew moved quietly around her, still in awe of what had happened. Tomasz joined her at the window. The Empire may return one day, he said. But today, Earth has shown the galaxy that it is not powerless. One world can rise with courage and intelligence. Myra nodded. She felt pride, not for herself, but for humanity. Aurora had been a gift from the past, a reminder of what humans could achieve when they worked together. The builders had dreamed of a ship that could protect the planet. Now their dream had become reality. Across Earth, news of Aurora's stand spread quickly. People cheered, and children watched the sky with hope in their eyes. Scientists and engineers studied the ship's technology, amazed at how advanced it was. Scholars wrote about the wisdom of creating something that could protect without harming. Aurora had become more than a ship. It had become a symbol of humanity's greatest strengths: creativity, intelligence, and care. Myra spent days exploring the ship, learning more about its systems and secrets. She discovered storage bays with maps of distant star systems, data about planets humans had yet to visit, and designs for technology far beyond current Earth knowledge. Aurora had been built not only to defend, but also to guide humanity into the stars. One evening, as the sun set over Earth's horizon, Myra walked the halls of the ship alone. The golden light of the stellar core bathed the walls in warmth. She whispered softly, "You are more than a guardian. You are a teacher. You are the hope of generations who will follow." Aurora's voice replied gently. Acknowledged. Purpose extended. Humanity's legacy supported. Myra smiled. The words felt like a promise. The ship would continue to guide and protect, and humans would rise to meet the challenges ahead. She thought of the colonies in distant star systems, of planets still untouched by Earth. One day, they would meet other worlds. They would share knowledge, friendship, and hope. And Aurora would be there to ensure their safety. The Council of Earth called for a meeting. They wanted to decide how to use Aurora's abilities wisely. Some argued for exploration, others for training new crews. Myra suggested a careful balance. We will use Aurora to protect, to learn, and to inspire. We will not seek war or conquest. We will show the galaxy that humanity leads by wisdom and care, not fear. The council agreed. Plans were made to train new engineers and explorers who could work with Aurora. The ship would remain near Earth, a beacon of hope and safety, ready to rise if danger returned. Meanwhile, whispers of Aurora's deeds reached other worlds. Colonies under the Empire's influence began to share stories of the human ship that had stopped a fleet without harming anyone. Hope spread slowly, but steadily. For the first time in many years, beings across the stars believed that they, too, could rise and protect what they loved. Myra spent nights standing at the command window, watching stars drift by. She thought of the people who had built Aurora, long gone. Their dream had survived centuries, hidden in dust and silence. Now it had awakened, and it had reminded the galaxy that humans could achieve greatness through courage, intelligence, and care. Tomash came to her side. "Do you ever think the Empire will come back?" he asked. Myra shook her head. "If they do, we will be ready. Aurora and humanity together are stronger than fear. Today we have proven it, and tomorrow we will build on it." The ship's golden core pulsed, brighter now than ever, as if it understood her words. It had protected Earth, guided its crew, and inspired hope across the stars. Myra knew it would continue to do so for generations. And so, Earth began a new chapter. Aurora stood as a symbol of what humans could achieve, a combination of knowledge, courage, and heart. Other worlds would learn of it. Other species would see that intelligence and care were as powerful as fleets and weapons. Humanity had not only survived, it had risen. Myra looked at the stars and whispered, "This is just the beginning. We will rise higher, explore further, and always protect. Together, we will carry the legacy of those who came before us and build a future worth dreaming of." Aurora's voice responded, calm and steady. "Acknowledged. Humanity's journey continues. Legacy preserved." The stars stretched endlessly before them. Aurora floated in quiet orbit, a guardian, a teacher, and a reminder of hope. And humanity, guided by its courage and intelligence, was ready to shine across the galaxy.